I saw a stat the other day about Atlanta being the only team to give up 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns to a quarterback. They did it with Russell Wilson, and Cam Newton did it to him twice this year. So that means they've already played 3 games this year against a quarterback that's similar to Colin Kaepernick. Now, I like Kaepernick from what I've seen so far in this small segment of him that we have so far. I think he could possibly be the best out of the 3. But we'll have that talk in another year or two when after defenses have had a chance to really see these guys on tape and how do they handle adjustments. That's really your real factor on judging the quarterback. How do you handle the adjustments? But you figure
they've seen Cam Newton twice this year. They've seen Russell Wilson. They've seen. Didn't they play Washington as well?
Atlanta, yes. Atlanta did play Washington this year. So they've seen RG3 as well.
They've seen RG3, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, and now they're going to see Kaepernick. If they don't know how to game plan for this style of quarterback by now, they're not going to figure it out.
Yeah,
and I don't think they're necessarily going to be able to hold Kaepernick down all game, but I think they'll be able to lock him down enough to where they could jump out to a lead. And then if Kaepernick has to try and play catch-up, they would rather that situation than having to try and chase San Fran. Because they know by getting up on a young, inexperienced quarterback like that, and I know Wilson didn't fall into this last week, but they are more prone to making mistakes.
Oh yeah, much
in
more
those
prone.
situations.
They're much more prone because they're more willing to force things they wouldn't normally force. Completely agree with you on that. The thing that I look at is I know you go into last week's game and you're like, how is Atlanta's offense going to handle this Seattle defense? How's Atlanta's wide receivers going to handle those 2 big burly cornerbacks on the outside in Seattle, the big safeties? The thing is, where Atlanta can get you is Tony G. Tony G is a matchup nightmare. I don't care how good your safeties are. I don't care how good your linebacking core is. He is a matchup nightmare. Tony G, to me, is the guy that will make the difference in this game for Atlanta, whether they can really win or lose. But I think if Atlanta can run the ball the way they did last week, where they took one of the best rush defenses in the league and were able to pretty much jam it down their throat, like I said before, the week before, a lot of that had to do with the fact that Chris Clemens was out and injured, and they had to start Bruce Irvin, who's not a good run defender. Well, you're looking at a similar situation in San Francisco. Justin Smith is fighting torn triceps. He's fighting them.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel good. No. But he's fighting through them.
He's not winning.
Yeah, not winning. Not smiling, that's for sure. But yet the man's playing through it. And you got to respect that, that whole warrior mentality. Much respect for that.
Absolutely.
But it does take away from his impact. Or you got to keep in mind last week you watched Joe Staley, their starting left tackle, play with one arm for over half the game. So what kind of impact's that going to have? Because John Abraham's expected to be back this week for the Falcons. It's those little things. And I'm a firm believer. I've always believed this, and I'll never stop believing it. A game of football, I don't care what the quarterback does. I don't care what a running back does. I don't care what receivers do. I don't care. A game of football is won at the line of scrimmage. Whose front lineman pushes who? If my O-line pushes you back, I'm doing whatever I want on offense. If your defensive line pushes my O-line back, we're in a lot of trouble. I'm a firm believer in a game is decided at the line of scrimmage.
But I think if you're looking at just the line of scrimmage, San Fran has a better opportunity to control the line of scrimmage than Atlanta does.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
But I necessarily look at Atlanta's offense and say, well, they have more potential to put up points than I think San Fran's offense does. So I think it's a two-headed monster because I honestly don't think that Atlanta's pass rush is going to be able to get a lot of pressure on Kaepernick. And if they do and they overcommit, Kaepernick's going to beat him with his feet. Yeah. You've got to play contain on him. So I don't necessarily think that they're going to get a whole lot of pressure necessarily on Kaepernick. They're just going to try and more contain him to the pocket and make him a passer.
Which they tried to do with Wilson, and then they started trying to blitz later in the game.
And it did, and you saw how that worked out for him.
Yeah.
So I look at it as I think San Fran will control the line of scrimmage. I just wonder, will Atlanta have enough big plays out of their big play guys and Julio Jones and Roddy White to match what San Fran's going to do? Because I think San Fran's going to run the ball, they're going to control the clock, and they're going to find ways to get Crabtree the ball, who's been unbelievable the second half of this season and into the playoffs. He's been what everybody is. You want to talk about a mirror moment? He woke up and said, whoa, wait a second. I'm that top prospect out of college? Wait a second.
The Raiders were stupid enough to draft Hayward Bay over me?
Wait a second. I'm the guy that a lot of people compared to, like, T.O. when I was coming out of college? That had size and speed and I could do something? Wait a second. That's me?
That's that guy.
Where the hell have you been? I don't know, but I'm happy you're back. And I feel like, you know, that's just what Crabtree... I don't know. He's developed a certain chemistry with Kaepernick that he didn't have with Alex Smith for whatever reason that I can't figure out.
He has, and I think on top of that, the threat of a wide receiver on the outside for San Francisco is huge. Because I know Vernon Davis has not played or put up very good numbers since Kaepernick took over, which is ironic to me considering his first start. Vernon Davis had 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards, blah, blah, blah. But since then, really hasn't done too much for Kaepernick at quarterback. But he's a threat. And to have him in the middle of the field and actually finally have a wide receiver on the outside, whereas a defense, you can't just say, well, we'll go Crabtree one-on-one, whatever. We'll roll our safeties to the middle of the field so Vernon Davis can't beat us. You can't do that anymore against this team and in this passing game. And no disrespect to Alex Smith. Look, Alex Smith was playing great football before he got hurt.
He really was.
But he did not put fear in defenses the way that Kaepernick puts fear in defenses. So I want to ask you one more time, same question I asked you for the Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. Take the big names out, and who is your X factor? Who is your difference maker in this game?
I think the X factor to this game is Michael Turner.
Okay.
Michael Turner / Jacquizz Rodgers. However they need to get the run game going. I think it's Atlanta's run game is the difference in this ball game.
Okay.
If they can, because San Fran is going to try and control the clock. They're going to give Frank Gore the ball.
Yeah.
If Atlanta could find a way to get some of that time of possession back, could find a way to gain it themselves and keep momentum going, keep their defense off the field for a little while, let them get some rest, I think that's the biggest key to this game. Yeah. Everybody knows what Matt Ryan can do. Everybody knows what Julio Jones, Tony Gonzalez, and Roddy White will do. Everybody knows, but the underachiever from this season, if you're looking at this Falcon team, is the run game.
Yeah.
And all year long, all I heard was the Falcons are saving him for the playoffs. They're saving him. They're going to use him. They're going to break his main in the playoffs. They're going to give him the ball. That's where he's going to shine. We've wasted him too much in the regular season in years past, and we're not going to make that mistake this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's averaging over 300
This year has to be the year where they say, listen, we're going to control the clock. We're going to run the football. We're going to take our shots down the field when we have a chance. But bottom line is we have to keep Kaepernick and San Fran off the field. We have to give our defense a break.
Let me ask you real quick. I'll throw this out real quick. To me, I'll go to the other team, but I'll stay in the same position. LaMichael James. I think LaMichael James, if he has a couple big kick returns, or you bring him in on a screenplay or something like that, or even bring him in for the read option, I think LaMichael James could be the difference maker in this game, just like how he was in New England. Think about it. They were up so big. New England fights all the way back. If he doesn't have that kick return, that sets up the pass to Crabtree on the next play.
Yep.
You know, I mean, what's to say if they got tackled on the 20, if he gets tackled on the 20 or kneels it, what's to say that they even get down the field and score? You don't know. It just set it up, and I think LaMichael James is the non-big name guy that ends up doing something.
Yeah.
But let me ask you real quick, because we're pretty much done with our show today. If it's whatever, a 2-minute situation, 1 minute, not much time left on the clock, and it's Atlanta's offense versus San Francisco's defense, and all Atlanta that needs to do is get a field goal. I'm pretty much saying if it's the same situation as we saw last week,
they could get a field goal.
Do you believe Atlanta can drive on this San Fran defense?
I believe they could drive
game?
to get a field goal. I don't believe they would have a 30-second drive to score a touchdown and win the game.
All right, let's say a 2-minute drive, no touchdowns. 2-minute warning. It's their ball on their own 20. They
down
got
a chance.
4 points.
They got a chance.
That's how I feel.
A minute or less, then I'm not going to give them that chance. I'll give them a chance at a field goal. But yeah.
You've watched them all year do it. That's why I wanted to ask. I'm like, all year I've watched this team do it. What's to say they can't do it again against this San Fran D? Because I think this San Fran D is just tenacious. But what's to say they can't do it, you know?
And I think, like I said, I think if Atlanta's run game can get going, I think if Michael Turner could wake up and have his mirror moment on Sunday and get back to being the Michael Turner that everybody expects him to be, I think that's the difference in this ball game. Although I am, as far as picks go, I'm taking San Fran.
I am actually going to go with San Francisco as well. So we're taking the two road teams to win.
Taking the two road teams.
Rooting for the Hardball Bowl. I'd be amped. I really wanted to see that.
Well, like I said, and I think after the first game, if Atlanta happens to win, I may be rooting for New England only because I want to see the better matchup. But when I sit here today, I look at it, and I think that San Fran's going to control the clock. I think their defense will make enough stops to keep their offense in the game, and I see it being another close game. I'm going to call this one 28-24.
28-24? I like 35-28. No, I like 35-31. Random as hell, but that's what I like.